I think you could make the argument, and probably Dr. Mack would agree, that the heart of the matter is these encounters. That whatever this intelligence is, interacting with humans, one-on-one, sometimes with small groups, that seems to be at the core of what's been going on for maybe forever.
Yeah. No, that's clearly the biggest mystery around. But it is the most intractable. And these accounts from ordinary people telling the most detailed accounts. And by the way, when he would put them in a light stage of hypnosis and hear their accounts, they were terrified, these people. And that was very convincing to him. He was a psychiatrist. He knew when people were faking. But when these people would recount their abduction, oh, they're sticking the needle in, oh my God, they're doing this, they're doing that, he realized that they weren't making it up. Whatever had happened to these people was real to them, and seemed to be real. He examined and rejected all the other explanations that they were fabricating, they were making it up, they were confused. These were people with a strong sense of reality.
We got a kaboom from Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, Weaponized, with the explosive UFO story that changed the world. Weaponized episode number 68. The explosive UFO story that changed the world is Ralph Blumenthal, 2017, New York Times, Leslie Kean, writing their article about Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon and their videos. So we've got Ralph Blumenthal on Weaponized with Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, talking about mostly John Mack. So this is like a home run on top of a home run, whatever they call that. Is that like a grand slam? So ufology grand slam right there. Boom. This is a fun episode. 1 hour long. Really classic Weaponized as far as that goes. They are talking about the most explosive UFO story that changed the world, being Ralph Blumenthal's 2017 story with Leslie Kean, New York Times, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, kind of the three videos, I think. Go Fast, Gimbal, I don't know, Nimitz. I think the main significance was that they were able to publish what they published in the New York Times. And then everyone got to see the videos right after that. And it seemed to be what changed everything in ufology. Now, whether you were a normal person, a normie, just out in the normal world, you could talk about UFOs and not be a immediate tin hat wearing mofo. But that had kind of already been the case for the most part. It was really now everyone else, the non-normies, all the people in all the places, all the workers, all the journalists, all the pilots, all the military people, anyone ex-military, anyone currently in the military. Now you're allowed to talk about it without being an instant crazy and, getting fired, losing your job, losing all your connections, losing your network. It was the official lifting of the stigma. And so that's how ufology dogma goes. And it's true in most ways. The videos have been discussed by everyone and anyone in ufology, debunked and rebunked and de-debunked. And most recently, some of them been re-debunked, they say. Before the article, those videos would not have been acknowledged and weren't acknowledged by the government as being real. And then they were. So those were real videos. And before that, there was never really anything that was considered like a real video. Anything else would just be called fake, or they would have an explanation for it. And in these 3 videos at the time, they weren't fake, they were authentic, and they didn't know what was in them. So they were UFOs. Even if they weren't alien. And he says, Ralph here, he says he was, he's already retired anyways. He's basically working on John Mack books since 2005, which is a long time ago. And John Mack's like a big name in ufology because he's kind of like the original guy who would track down the people who had abduction stories, and then he would record their abduction stories. He would put them into hypnosis and have them, relive their abduction stories. And he interviewed a lot of people. And then he wrote about it. And then he got in trouble for doing it at Harvard because, the other people at Harvard said, this guy's a crazy UFO guy. Get him out of here. And I don't think they did get rid of him that way. But I'm not sure. They don't retell the John Mack story here in this episode. He's not talked about very often nowadays. I think, I guess who we would probably consider his most closest exponent would be maybe James Fox. He seems to have kind of gotten away from the path of the witness testimony. But he's making movies, not podcasts. So I don't know, we give him a little bit of rope. But still, people aren't really talking about John Mack very often. And John Mack's being kind of the origin of the contactee, experiencer, UFO abductee, alien abductee category. It's like the most heebie-jeebie category. So people do not dwell on it often or for long. John Mack's one of my favorite subjects because, basically because he was the Harvard psychology guy. He founded the psychology department at Harvard. So that little feather in his cap makes him, and maybe that's why they tell it to us all the time, but that's what makes him credible, right?